Hey folks, Pat here from DNS, and this Madison area fishing report is current as of April 5th. Before we get started, just a couple quick things here. Your fishing license expired on March 31st, so if you haven't already, go online here to the Go Wild page. You can renew that easy enough. If you're feeling technologically challenged, feel free to swing by the shop and we can get you set up no problem. Did want to remind folks that the Wisconsin Conservation Congress is having their spring hearings April 8th. That's Monday at 6 p.m. They do that by each county. The Dane County spot is in McFarland, I believe, at the high school. But the DNR is encouraging folks. They will have the questionnaire available online for voting, and that will open April 10th at noon until noon on April 13th. So I'll try to remind folks about that. But you can go on the DNR's website here and just look up Wisconsin Conservation Congress spring hearing. They got the questionnaire here. I think it's 22 pages long. So lots of things being proposed. And this is a great opportunity to go and make your voice heard about what things are up for vote, or what might be issues to different anglers, and conservation issues in general. So yeah, it's a great opportunity to make your voice heard. It's certainly not an end-all be-all, these votes, but it is something that the DNR looks at very seriously, how these votes turn out. I did also want to remind folks that the Capital City chapter at Musky Inc. is having their 38th annual fishing seminar and fundraiser. That's going to be at Boulevard Lanes this Saturday, starting at 9 a.m. They got Jeremy Smith from Linder Media and Angling Edge coming in. He's going to, of course, be talking about musky fishing. This is their major fundraising event for the year, so I know they are. It sounds like they're struggling to stock some more muskies. Apparently, the DNR isn't coming through with the number of muskies that they had hoped for, so they're trying to rustle up some more money to get some more. You could get tickets online, but that's closed now. But you can buy tickets at the door. So if you're into musky fishing, this is a great event, and I encourage you to support this group. They're doing great work for musky fishing. Otherwise, a little bit of shop news. We have our spring seminars coming up. April 18th. Was talking with Noah Humfeld the other day. He's getting excited to give his presentation about getting ready for opening day. Dave Rowe is going to be talking about the Madison chain overview. Dave's from the DNR Fisheries Team Supervisor for Southern Wisconsin. And he'll also be talking about the new laws that just recently went into effect regarding some limits. And then Kyle Zempel is coming through, going to be talking about Wisconsin River smallmouth. He's a fly fishing guide, but smallmouth or smallmouth, and they all eat the same stuff. So whether you fly fish or not, it's going to be a great event. Kyle's a great speaker and a talented photographer, and really does a great job. We do have a bunch of new stuff out on this NCAP for 2024. I've been kind of going through stuff this last week. These Rapala Mavericks are a hot new item. This is basically just a ripoff of a mega bass lure. I can't remember the name of that one, but anyway, they're super cool lures, and have been really well, doing really well for walleyes, especially on the river. You can see here, Noah Humfeld was up at the Dells, I think, just pounding some big walleyes here. They were doing really great on those Mavericks. So yeah, get in and check them out. They're a hot item, and apparently they catch some big walleyes. What else we got? So the posters on the door. Looks like I got a thing for a fundraiser. That's not till August 10th. You can get tickets. The thing for Musky Inc. The Southern Wisconsin Trout Unlimited Spring Fair fundraiser. Tickets are on sale now. This is a great event, of course, benefiting a great group. And yeah, it's a cool event. A lot of great camaraderie there. The food, though, is really worth the price of tickets alone. It's fantastic food, and just a great event. Kyle with his Drinking with Scissors events. The last one's coming up April 16th. And of course, we got a poster here talking about a couple posters about the new limits as far as walleye going down to 3 is statewide now. So that went into effect April 1st. And then also the Mendota panfish limit. This is just on Lake Mendota, is 10 fish in total, effective on April 1st. So there's that. I guess we can get a little more into the report here. So, of course, we got a whole bunch of rain this last week, kind of a crummy week. We had cool temps and a bunch of rain that turned into a bunch of snow, so not the best fishing weather for sure. The good news is that all that precipitation has brought lake levels up and hopefully soaked into the ground, because we've been dry here for quite a while. It looks like the warm up they predicted to be here for this weekend is getting pushed into next week, but it does look like some warmer weather is just around the corner. Of course, generally around the chain, game fish season is closed until May 4th. And with the crappy weather we had this last week, there haven't been a lot of folks getting out. Water levels have come up across the chain and seem pretty close to normal to even high in some spots that I've seen. I've been hearing about some good panfish action in a few spots around town and beyond. early season catch and release bass is open, and folks are starting to find some fish. Walleye fishing on the rivers has been great lately, and of course, there's also a great time of year to get out and enjoy the early season catch and release trout fishing our area has to offer. However, with all this rain that we got, looking at a rainfall totals that on this iWeather Net 72-hour rainfall totals, you can see here that Madison and south of Madison and to the east of Madison really got pounded by a bunch of rain, 2 inches or more in some spots. That means the Rock River down here is pretty blown out right now from what I hear. But if you go just to the north and to the west of Madison, it's really not that bad. I was out driving around in the Fenimore, Platteville area over here on Wednesday, and a lot of the trout streams I looked at were very fishable, but the wind was horrible, so I didn't fish. But so the rivers out this way are good. The Wisconsin River is in great shape. It's up just a little bit, but still very fishable, and actually still kind of low for this time of year. So maybe avoid the Rock River, but the Wisconsin River should still be fishing good. Let's see, up here back to Madison, and up here on the north side, up to Cherokee Park, it's been pretty quiet up there from what I've heard. A few bluegills and crappies being picked up, but once this warm weather comes through, that'll warm up the water there, and that should push some fish in and make for some good fishing. Some folks have been trying for bass up there and actually been finding more small pike than bass. Of course, pike season is closed, but that should improve as things warm up. Down to the 113 bridge, kind of the same deal down there. They've been getting some crappies down there here and there, off and on. Some perch moving through, mostly smaller perch they've been getting. For the crappie and perch, though, they've been doing well with small crappie minnow or small minnow-shaped plastic under a bobber's been working well. Folks casting down there have been running into some pike, and even the folks actually using crappie stuff have been running into some small pike. They're plentiful across the chain. And the catfish bite down there has not quite happened yet. I've been reading online, they've been seeing a lot up here in the North Bay, but once the water warms up just a little bit, those catfish will start to move up in here to the 113 bridge area. As far as Lake Mendota goes itself, I haven't heard much reports off of the main lake, but if you're looking for fish, look to shallow inlets. You got the County Park Inlet here, Pheasant Branch, Marshall Park, Spring Harbor, all good spots, and that shallow water is the first to warm up, so those usually hold fish. I've been hearing about a few fish out of Spring Harbor, Marshall Park, all the areas I discussed, University Bay to a lesser extent, and a few fish coming out of Tenney Park. I do want to remind folks that the Tenney Park locks is closed below here for 800 feet, so basically just down to East Johnson Street here, but that area is closed until mid-May as a fish refuge. Going down to Lake Monona, the area where the Yahara dumps in up here on the northwest end of the lake is always a pretty productive spot. There is a pier in at the Olbrich launch up here. Nothing down at Olin, though, that I've heard that's in yet. But like I said, same deal here as Lake Mendota. Not much happening on the main lake that I've heard, but folks are getting crappie in the Monona Bay area and in the triangles along the tracks. And the Brittingham Park area has been producing some good fish for folks from shore, but folks in boats are also doing well, but mostly near shore. It's a good crappie bite. Other areas that usually hold fish this time of year, Turtle Bay, Weechawuk Bay, these little channels over here, Weechawuk Bay, formerly known as Squaw Bay, of course. Winnequa Park lagoons are always a good early spring spot, so definitely worth a look. Moving down the chain, the Lattice Park launch, the water is up, so the Lattice Park launch is now launchable, and they do have a pier in there. These little inlets and stuff usually hold good panfish, but I've heard that some really great panfish are stacked up here at the dredge hole in Upper Mud and around Upper Mud in general. Nice shallow area that's warming up good. And actually early season bass in all of Upper Mud can also be super great. Haven't heard much out of Lake Wabisa, not much out of Lake Farm. The only action I've heard about is down here in the South Bay off Goodland Park has been good. For some bluegills in there. I've heard about a few crappies being picked up between Bible Camp and Babcock. The Babcock launch is open as well, but the area below the dam here is a fish refuge down to this first bridge, so stay out of there if you're trying to fish there. Otherwise, down to Kegonsa, sort of the same deal down there. Not much going on in the main lake. The Fish Camp County Park area up here on the north end does have a pier in. They put that in a couple days ago at Fish Camp County Park, so you can launch a boat there. And this area where the Yahara dumps in is traditionally a good spot with some shallow areas that hold panfish early this time of year. Down on Lake Koshkonong, like I said, the Rock River itself is up. I haven't heard much before the rain. I hadn't been hearing much out of Indian Ford, a couple pike in there, and some walleye and sauger. Koshkonong's been quiet as far as I've heard, but the area from Black Hawk Island, where it dumps into Koshkonong, up through Fort Atkinson and up to the Jefferson Dam, has been holding good walleyes. Again, that water is high right now, but yeah, the fish are in there, and it sounded like before the rain, at least, there were some good females starting to show up. Up here to Beaver Dam, the catfish bite has been good for shore anglers, and also some crappies moving in shallow. So if you want to get out of town a little bit, that's worth a look. Otherwise, over on the Wisconsin River, like I said, the levels over there aren't really as bad as you might think with all the rain that we got. They are up, but actually still kind of low for this time of year. The flows at the Prairie du Sac Dam and all the way up the river are actually down, one, because we didn't get as much rain north of Madison, but also they're trying to fill the, what do you call them, flowages up and down the river. So Lake Wisconsin, Petenwell, Castle Rock, all the way up the river. They're trying to get the water levels up there. So not a lot of the water actually makes it down to us. So the river is still very fishable just north of town. And they've been getting walleyes and some saugers moving in there, and the females are starting to move in. But from what I hear, they have not spawned yet. Should be soon, though. Lake Wisconsin, haven't heard much about the perch bite that was going on out there. That seemed to shut down with the cold we got a couple weeks ago. They have been getting some panfish in some of the shallow bays and little inlets. So those are always worth a look. The walleye bite sounds like on the lake itself has been slow, but the folks that I have been hearing about getting fish have been working their way up into the river itself here and finding some fish. You just got to find a little current. Haven't heard much from Portage, but up to the Dells. Dells Dam's been hot. It's talking about Noah's success up there a little earlier. Otherwise, same thing, a lot of small males, but the females are starting to move in. Same thing at Castle Rock Dam and Petenwell. Both those flowages, not much happening on the lakes themselves, but once you get up into the rivers and find some current, they've been finding some fish. And of course, the dams at both those spots are very productive spots. Over to the river, it sounds like the river's dirty, but not actually high. There's some snow melting up north and some rain, of course, that affects that. But, everywhere from Prairie du Chien up to La Crosse, they've been finding good walleye and sauger at dams, and some good perch action still remains. I was just talking to Pat Klingeholtz, who was over there the other day, and he said the perch that they were seeing were still full of eggs, and the males were still squirting milk. So, yeah, that bite's still going strong over there. You just got to find some fish. I did hear the folks on the barges were pretty disappointed. The water's cloudy, and they weren't having much success. Otherwise, over to Milwaukee here, the tributaries, they got a bunch of rain, like I said in the intro. So all the tributaries are running high. But, I was talking with Harley here the other day, and from what he's been seeing over there, he's been spending a lot of time over there. He hasn't seen any of the steelhead that are up in the tributaries on any reds spawning yet. So he thinks this rain's actually going to push more steelhead into the river, and that bite's already been good. Sounds like a lot of the browns have moved back out into the harbor, and I haven't heard anything as far as the cohos that typically move up the coast here this time of year, but that bite should be picking up here pretty quick. Otherwise, they're still getting fish up to De Pere. Great time of year to get up there, and probably your best chance at some real trophy walleye fishery up there. Fishing's been good, as it always is this time of year. And what else do we got? I don't know. I think that's pretty much it for warm water fishing. But like I said, trout fishing in the area has been good. I would avoid Black Earth Creek. Black Earth Creek was very high when I drove through there on Wednesday. But like I said, you get west of Madison, like if you get west of Dodgeville and Spring Green, all the creeks out this way should be in very good shape. The creeks I looked at were good. And, this time of year, if you're fishing spinning gear or a Apollo Countdown, a crappie-sized tube jig or a small spoon like a little Clio, work slowly through deep pools and tailouts is a pretty safe bet this time of year. Otherwise, fly anglers drifting woolly buggers and nymphs through the same pools and tailouts are always a pretty safe bet. I have been out, and I've been seeing, as far as hatches go and fish feeding on top, there have been some stoneflies around with the occasional caddis hatch coming off. And, of course, blue-winged olives, I've been talking about the last few weeks. I've been seeing a few hatches of them. Actually ran into one over in Milwaukee the other day. Made me wish I was out on a trout stream somewhere. But I guess as far as our Happy Fly Day feature goes, we will talk about caddis, which, aren't in great numbers yet, but as soon as we get a little warm up here, they should start popping off. We have a wide selection of caddis flies here at the shop, both in nymphs and in dry flies. A few options here, some traditional nymphs. But really, a great option this time of year is a beadhead hare's ear nymph, which mimics actually a lot of different things. It's a very fishy fly. Pick up one of those and run it through some of these runs and pools I was talking about. Can be a great option. Otherwise, on the dry fly side of things, caddis this time of year tend to run pretty dark in color. So, a black elk hair caddis like this, or one that has a black body and maybe a tan wing can be good. Otherwise, these gray ones here also work well in case you run into a stonefly hatch. They mimic stoneflies pretty well. So swing by the shop and get stocked up. Having all these nymphs is a great idea, but you're definitely going to want to have some dries too in case a hatch pops off. You're going to want to be ready for that. So I guess that pretty much does it for the report. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in. Feel free to call the shop at 241-4225 if you want us to expand on anything we talked about here. Otherwise, yeah, like I said, I do appreciate you tuning in, and good luck out there, and we will talk next week. Thanks so much.